welcome back. Today I will be looking at A Link to the Past, A Link Between Worlds, The Legend of Zelda, and Four Swords Adventures. All four follow an incarnation of Link, taking on Ganon, who is attempting to conquer Hyrule, and also capturing Princess Zelda during each invasion. Though each of these maps are artistically different, except for A Link to the Past and A Link Between Worlds, each game takes place in the same location of Hyrule. The harder question to answer is, where do all four of these games fit within the Breath of the Wild map? Well, based on my research, I believe that all four games can be placed here, in the Gerudo Desert. Now, none of the maps are to scale in terms of exact location, but based on certain geographical features, all the maps should be placed in this location. Also, I know I said I would avoid turning maps, but in this case it is required due to the change from the artistic maps of the four games to a more accurate map in Breath of the Wild. First, let me point out that the area on the Legend of Zelda map to the right of the black line, located here, is not shown on the other three maps. However, the area to the right of the black line will be important a little later when placing the maps on the Breath of the Wild map. Next, there are three key areas to line up all four maps and see that they are all the same area. The green box shows a desert area surrounded by mountainous terrain. Each one of these deserts is located in the southwest of all four maps. The blue box shows a centralized location surrounded by a moat. Three of the games have this location as Hyrule Castle, while Legend of Zelda has the fourth dungeon, the Snake, at this location. It is possible that Dungeon 4 is an old or partially ruined Hyrule Castle. Also, when looking at the Legend of Zelda map, I am using the black line as the eastern border of the map for now, and it does put Dungeon 4 in the center of the map. The red box highlights Spectacle Rock. All four games have this landmark in the north amongst the mountains, or as the mountain in Four Swords Adventure. The Four Swords Adventures map is more stylized and likely emphasizes the importance of Spectacle Rock. A Link to the Past, A Link Between Worlds, and Four Swords Adventures all have a tower that is located near Spectacle Rock as well. One area of concern that may call into question the location of Four Swords Adventures are located in the gray boxes. The box on the left shows Kakariko Village north of the Lost Woods. The box on the right shows Lake Hylia north of the Eastern Palace. The locations are flipped in A Link to the Past and A Link Between Worlds, with Kakariko Village south of the Lost Woods and Lake Hylia south of the Eastern Palace. The answer to this is due to A Link to the Past and A Link Between Worlds taking place in the Downfall timeline, and Four Swords Adventure taking place in the Child timeline. Both the Downfall era and Child era Hyrules could develop along the same lines, with minor variations taking place, sort of like a butterfly effect in both kingdoms. Since the locations are both on the correct side of the map, with Kakariko Village and the Lost Woods in the west, and Lake Hylia and the Eastern Palace in the east, this shows that even with small variations, both Hyrules did not change much and are the same locations. The key to placing all four maps in the Breath of the Wild map is Spectacle Rock. This location in Breath of the Wild is in the southwest of the map and is a prominent feature near the Gerudo Desert. This location is also prominent in all four games in the northern portion of their maps. So if we were to line up Spectacle Rock from A Link to the Past, A Link Between Worlds, Legend of Zelda, and Four Swords Adventures with the Spectacle Rock from Breath of the Wild, we can see that the kingdom could have developed in the Gerudo Desert and flourished. This is likely in each timeline due to the continued onslaught of Ganon against the kingdom of Hyrule, and this part of the kingdom was seen as a possible refuge from Ganon's forces. When looking at the four maps and lining them up with Spectacle Rock and Breath of the Wild, the maps do seem to fit the location, though, as mentioned before, they are not to scale. When looking at the eastern part of the Legend of Zelda map, to the right of the black line, there is a coastline on the map. When Legend of Zelda is placed over the Breath of the Wild map, you can see that the coastlines will also line up in both games. As I said earlier, this eastern area of Legend of Zelda would be important since it supports the Spectacle Rock, Anchor Point, and Gerudo Desert location for the 4 maps. Based on these points, this is why I believe the 4 maps line up with Spectacle Rock and extend into the Gerudo Desert. This is also supported when looking at the map in the Legend of Zelda sequel, Adventure of Link. Due to the location of Spectacle Rock in all 4 maps and the coastline in Legend of Zelda, I believe there is strong evidence that the downfall timeline takes place in what was the Gerudo Desert. The Hylians, fleeing from death and destruction, re-established their kingdoms southwest of the Gerudo Highlands. This would make the most sense considering the lore and geography of all of Hyrule. Again, please let me know if there is anything I missed, and thank you for watching. I will be covering the Adventure of Link in the next video in this series.